Well, hello and welcome to Wellness by Design today. I'm Jane Hogan, the Wellness Engineer, your host, and I'm really excited today to be talking about a topic that it's near and dear to my heart. It's about how we need new solutions to chronic problems because the old solutions aren't working. So I'm really delighted to welcome my guest today, Dr. Elena Villanueva. Welcome, Dr. Elena, Dr. V.
Thank you so much, Jane. It's so good to be here with you today.
I'm so happy to have you here. I've admired your work for a long time, and I know that you're going to offer great value for our audience today. So let's just start with talking about your background. You used to be a chiropractor in sports medicine. You're not doing that anymore. How did things switch? Why did things switch for you?
So yes, I had three sports medicine practices. So I was a very busy working single mother, and I traveled with Olympic athletes. I got to do some amazing pre-qualifying events. It was a lot of fun. And then I had what some of us are familiar with as like the perfect storm of heightened emotional experiences and events and some tragedies and things that all happened in my life all around the same time within a short period of time. And little symptoms and just little things that I had just been sweeping under the rug, like most of us do. Take a Tylenol for this, take a pill for that, whatever, and just keep on going. That's what I was doing. And all of a sudden, I got really sick, Jane. In fact, I became so ill that I completely lost my memory. So it was like a full blown dementia. I had a lot of stroke like symptoms, but they couldn't find any evidence of a stroke. And I lost my ability to even speak. So, as you can imagine, that was a big problem. My son was in high school at the time. Again, I was a single mother. And I ended up losing all three of my practices. And I ended up losing my home too.
Oh my
So that started a trajectory for me that led me to where I am today. I was able to, over the course of many years, and nobody had one, no one, there was no one person that had all the answers for me. Plus, at that point in my life, because I had not known, even though I was a sports medicine doctor, I never really understood the concept of reinvesting a minimum of 10% of your earnings each year back into yourself. And if you didn't need to spend all of that, putting that in some sort of an investment account for you. I didn't know that. So I ended up basically going bankrupt, trying to figure out what to do with the businesses, my house, my son, and having no money left for myself. So it ended up taking me years to find any one person that had all the answers. And that led me to where I am today. And I teach pretty much all the answers and solutions that are out there in a very expertly curated way to teach people that it's never one thing. There's always a combination of things going on,
Yeah.
and simple steps that people can take to reclaim their healing, their ability to heal, and get their health and their life back.
Oh my gosh, what a story. And to have built up so much and then lost again, but also your health as well. Um, it's very inspiring to know that you have done this and now turn this around into now helping other people. So let's talk, Dr. V, about some of the very sobering statistics when we look at chronic. Well, I'm very familiar with ones with chronic pain, autoimmune diseases, but chronic conditions in general, more people are getting them, even they're getting them at younger ages. The system that we have really isn't dealing with root causes, and so people aren't really solving the problems either. How does that impact you and what you do, and what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I believe that's honestly why I'm here. That's my mission and it's my purpose. And if I had not, if I had not had the experiences that I had, um, I wouldn't have gained the wisdom and the knowledge, and I would have never really understood why God put me here. And so my purpose is to educate people on what's going on. These statistics are harrowing, and I don't know if any of you listening to this are nodding your heads as we're starting to have this conversation, but we're seeing more and more people not just getting diagnosed with every symptom, condition, and chronic disease under the sun. We're seeing the statistics rise in the number of deaths due to dementia, due to these various autoimmune diseases, due to Parkinson's, and you know, if we don't start raising the red flags, which is what you and I are doing, we're standing up at the top of the mountain going, hey, everybody, we've got some important news for you here. It's the education that's going to start people, that's going to help all of us to understand what's going on and what we need to do about it. But these statistics are getting worse all the time, which is irrefutable proof from my perspective that the medical system is beyond broken. And the good news is that people are finally waking up and they're realizing, hey, I started on one medication 10 years ago. I'm on 16 medications now, and I feel worse than I've ever felt. And people are going, well, what is going on here? And then there's people like you and I that are going, well, we've got the answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know for me, I just knew there had to be another answer, and I also really believed in the wisdom of the body, and that I knew I'd had this stressful year that had created this environment where this illness happened. So how could I create an environment where wellness would happen? And I believed it was possible, but I think a lot of people don't believe that. They think it's inevitable that as they get older, they're going to get sick. And as they get older, they're going to be in pain, and there's really nothing they can do about it. Or they put all their hope in, the next drug or the next miracle cure, but they're not working. The statistics are telling us that. So do you come up against this, Dr. V, like people just not having hope?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I believe as a part of programming of humanity.
Yeah.
We've been programmed. See, this is the thing. If you talk to anyone in their 80s or 90s, or even if they're a centurion and they're still alive, they are a witness to what has happened. Because when they were young, they didn't see people in their 40s and 50s and 60s having the diseases that they have now. They didn't see kids with autism everywhere you turn. I mean, what is it, like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 now?
Crazy.
If we talk to any of our elders who are in their 80s, 90s, or 100, they probably never heard of autism. Maybe when they were younger in their childbearing years, they maybe saw one person with autism out of 1,000. And so we have been being programmed over the last 50, 60 years to believe that it's normal to start having pain and discomfort and dis-ease from the time we hit our 40s. I mean, we all thought it was a joke, right? I remember when I was a kid and they'd have the big, what's the saying that they would say it like, Lordy, Lordy, you're over 40 or something. And they would start making jokes that like, oh, now you're 40, you're like over the hill, or when you're 50, you're definitely over the hill. That is not true. You're just getting your life started. Like that is absolutely not true. But the programming is a big part of the problem, because the science shows that our body, our cells, tissues, and organs respond to our belief systems and our thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother conversation that if your audience is interested and they reach out to you and say, we want to hear about this, you and I can have a whole nother talk about that. And I can go through all the science behind it, but our thoughts and our belief systems, actually control our genetic expression, our cells, tissues, and organs. So if we believe that is true, which we've all been programmed to believe that in the last 50 years, that once you hit 40, you start going downhill, of course, your body is going to start to respond. And then on top of that, it's going to start aging faster. Yeah. And then on top of that, our world, this planet, is more toxic than it has ever been. And you and I will talk about that and give some examples here in a minute. We literally live in a waste dump. we are living in a toxic world. So now not only have our thoughts and beliefs about ourselves become toxic and we don't even realize it, it's happened right under our nose, subconscious programming.
Yeah.
But we are also being inundated with toxins in our food, in our personal grooming products, in our cleaning products. It's in the air we breathe. It's in the water we drink. It's even in our medications. There are known published neurotoxins being put in our pharmaceutical drugs.
Mm.
And so again, education is the first step to transformation.
Right, right. Well, I thank you for shedding some light on this because people need to hear it. I also want people to understand too that there's, like, again, coming back to hope, because I know a lot of people just like throw up their hands and go, what can we do about it? It's everywhere, and we're exposed to it. There's nothing we can do. But there is something we can do. So how do you even get started with someone when someone comes to you with a chronic condition? How do you even get started with them?
Well, a lot of people that have come to us over the years, and when I used to hear this in the beginning, it really it would really make my heart and my whole body hurt. Like I
Yeah.
would feel their pain, I'd feel their loss of hope, and I was able to resonate with that because there was a point that I lost hope, and I got very very close to taking my life, and there was divine intervention that happened. But I hit a point where I was like, if this is my human experience, no, like that's the one thing I can control. Like if there are no answers and solutions, and I had lost hope, I was like, if this is it for me, I'm done here. I don't care what constructs I've been taught to believe about suicide. I don't care at this point. Like, which at that time I truly believed, and I don't believe it anymore. And we're all open to believe our own things, but I was raised in a construct where if you do commit suicide, you'll go to hell. That's what I was taught. And I was very afraid of that growing up. But when I got that sick, I was in hell from my perspective. And I thought, well, nothing's going to be worse than this. And so I do understand it when people say that they lost hope. And I'm really grateful now that I don't have that kind of terrible pain that I used to have when I used to feel someone else's loss of hope. Which is good because I can help lead you and we can take them by the hand and we can guide them out of that dark place. But the first thing to know is, you know what? There are answers and solutions. You are not broken. You are not beyond repair. You don't have to believe what they tell you.
Mm.
They don't know the answers and solutions so that you can get better. But your first step is to start with hope. And even if you just have the faith of a mustard seed, like right, that's what they talk
Yes.
about in the Bible, the faith of a mustard seed. Just if you're hanging on by a string, that's all you need. That's all you need because anchor into that because that is God whispering to you or the divine, whatever you believe in, whispering to you in your heart that there's something better for you. And we just need to sit in stillness and presence. And we need to look at what answers and what revelations are unfolding before our eyes so that then we can take those steps forward to find our healing, not just in our body, but in our mind and our spirit as well.
Hmm. And like in some ways, thank goodness for the internet, because if you start searching for seeking stories of other people that have gone through what you've got, and have healed, you will find them because there are stories out there. But the downside of the internet is that there's so much stuff out there too. So you can get a lot of contradicting stories as well. Uh, so it's important to find someone that you can trust, right? And stories that you can trust, and find a leader. And that's what you are, right? And I know that you keep putting together these master classes for people to help them like refine it all, give them the tools, the right path, so that they're not wandering around and being overwhelmed with stuff. So you do have, I know you have one coming up. Tell me about these master classes that you've been doing and how you help people with them.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So you're right. There's a lot of information out there. And first, let me state this that um, while there is some information out there that, makes me go, oh my God, how is this even available to be out there? But there is a lot of good information out there as well. And healing is not linear. And the approaches to healing are not linear. There's not one way. There's very much an art to it. It is very much a process of alchemy, and I call it magic because there are so many variables in our lives, a lot of variables between you and I. We could have the same diagnosis of whatever, but the root causes for us could be very, very different. They could be very different because there's so many variables: where you live, our environments, our relationships, the foods we're eating, the beliefs we have, the constructs we have, the medicines we're taking or not taking. All of these things come into mind. And so, the whole process of healing is really rooted in understanding alchemy. And in order to, from my perspective, in order to really weed out or vet out what good information, what is good information and what isn't, I invite people to really use their mind to help discern, what makes sense and what doesn't, but also listen to your heart. Now, what I've done that I now see, I didn't realize it at the beginning, but I now see that has made it so valuable, and that's helped us to really make a really big impact around the world, is the way that I educate. So, and many doctors and practitioners now are following my model, and they're starting to do it the way that I'm getting ready to tell you. But education is key. And
Yes.
but how do we educate in a way that we can really let people know that what we're teaching is real? Like it actually is real and it works. So when I educate, I like to do it through story. I like to do it through teaching people, like telling them, the statistics show XYZ. But then I like to show published studies. So I'll take excerpts of published studies along with the links of these published studies, and I show them in my slides, in my master classes when I'm doing a presentation. As I'm talking through it, you get to see that I'm not just talking about it as an expert. I'm showing you 3, 4, 5 different published studies on what I'm talking about. And I always look for, studies that are published through, major publications, like Harvard or Stanford or the National Institute of Health, things that people feel, safe in believing, right? And then when I start talking about how we've implemented these different approaches, I go back into story and I show case studies, like
Yeah.
studies on our own clients, people that are working with us, that have worked with us, who started with, in her late 40s. We had one lady, for example, that I talk about in my case studies. She was in her 40s and in a wheelchair from Parkinson's. That's how advanced her Parkinson's had gotten when she was in her late 40s. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, because we're about the same age. Now we're both in our 50s. But when we started working with her, she was in her late 40s, and so was I. And it's just, she really touched my heart, because I'm thinking, oh my God, that could have been any of us. Like I'm in my late 40s, we're the same age. And how we took her through the process that we teach in the master classes, uncovering all the root causes, which we can always talk about. We can touch on those today if we have time. And we found her root causes, and then we taught her what process to go through to systematically start addressing and eliminating all of these barriers to healing in her body. A year later, she was out of her wheelchair, walking with a cane, and it completely changed the trajectory of her life and helped her to wake up to understand what are the most common root causes, how she really was not broken. She was able to heal. And that's how I teach. And I believe that methodology of teaching can really help people to discern, what's real, solid, reputable information,
Mhm.
versus, what's just, I don't know, hocus pocus, what's like what you really shouldn't be paying attention to.
I love that because we are in a paradigm, and part of our mental construct is that science rules, right? So when we can see that scientific evidence, it really helps support people's beliefs. But I love what you said in there, Dr. V. You talked about um, removing barriers to healing, right? Removing barriers to healing, which is such a different shift from what most people are thinking about. Like, what pill do I need to take to get well, right? It's completely the opposite. Like, we haven't gotten sick because we've been missing whatever the contents are of that pill. We've had a barrier that has, stopped our body from healing naturally. And so removing the barriers to healing is just perfect. I absolutely love it. So you mentioned there common root causes, and so maybe we can touch on some of those.
Yes. So in my masterclass that's coming up, Beyond the Pill, we take a deep dive into each of these common root causes that I'm getting ready to talk to you about, so that you can really understand in depth about these root causes and how they're affecting people and how you can address it and prevent them, how you can get these things out of your body and then to prevent it. But amongst the most common root causes, and in my masterclass, I even give you the statistics of how many people have these different root causes. And the statistics are extremely high, extreme, like, 99% of people, for example, who are sick, suffering with any type of symptom, condition, or disease that they've had for longer than a year or two, 99% of them show up with at least one chemical toxin in their body that is directly related to their symptom, condition, or disease, that is backed by published studies showing that that chemical or handful of chemicals in their body is directly related to their symptom, condition, or disease. So we'll start with
Wow.
uh, environmental chemical toxins. They're out there everywhere. In the United States alone, less than 10% of all chemicals being used in our foods, our personal products, in our environment that's being sold on the shelves, less than 10% of them have any government regulation. And of those less than 10% that do have government regulation, they allow the company that produced the chemicals, that created the chemicals, to fund their own research.
Oh, that's
So
not
they go,
biased.
isn't that crazy? So when they go to these big institutions to do research, like let's say they'll go to Stanford and say, or some other big, research institution, like DuPont that created Teflon back in the 70s, right? And there's a whole story about this on Netflix, I think. And you can see like the court cases, the attorney is still alive today, but they hired some institutions to do the research, but they fund the research. So if these researching institutions, these colleges and these different, if they don't come out with the answers for the research that, if they don't come out with the research that the company wants to see, they'll pull the funding. Well, when they pull the funding, that could affect the guy leading the research who maybe has three mouths to feed at home.
Yeah.
So, what do you think he's going to do? He's got bills to pay, a house and people to feed in his family. So, he now lives in conflict, knowing that he's doing something wrong, but changes the outcomes of the research paper to be in favor of the Teflon and says, oh, yeah, it's safe. Yeah, it's safe. Right. And then people end up dying from it. And so, very few chemicals are regulated in the United States. And if very few are regulated in the United States, what's happening around the rest of the world, right? So chemical toxins is a huge problem. 99% of people that are sick have at least one high level of a chemical toxin in their body. We see many people with three or more.
Wow.
Toxic mold is another huge issue. And we see between 70 and 75% of people that have been sick for 2 or more years that have at least one toxic mold in their body. These are our statistics that we've been collecting over the last 5 years, doing thousands of labs with people in over 18 countries. And then we find around 20 to 25% of people that have been sick for 2 or more years have at least one toxic heavy metal or some form of radioactive material like cesium in their bodies. Can you believe that? And then food is another common cause. And nowadays, it's not just the holistic healer, being all hippie like, telling the person, it's the gluten, it's the sugar, it's the dairy, it's the chemicals in your food. Stop eating processed food. We literally have tests, advanced technology where we can test the person and we can see how their brain and how their immune system is attacking their body in response as a reaction to the foods that they're eating that are literally acting like poisons in their body. And so now we can show people with irrefutable proof that, hey, this bread that you're eating every day is what's causing your schizophrenia, or it's what's causing your bipolar, or it's what's causing your false diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis that's causing pain all over your body, right? And so food is another one. Medications. I do a whole part in my 5-part series that's coming up in Beyond the Pill where we talk about medications. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not going to bash them and say that they don't have a place. I come from a family of medical doctors and surgeons, and I can tell you that medicine saved lives,
Mhm.
but it's killing people when it's being used long term for chronic disease, because medicine does not cure anything. What it does is it can save your life, and it can give you a life vest to hold on to keep you afloat
Mhm.
while you're working on the root cause. But the issue is that doctors don't know the second part of it. They are just giving the medications, and these medications are oftentimes making these symptoms and conditions and diseases worse. And then what else do we have? Oh, we have thoughts, beliefs, unprocessed emotions, unresolved trauma that literally get stuck inside of the body. And our cells, tissues, and organs respond directly to our thoughts and our belief systems and our unprocessed emotions and traumas. And it affects the body so deeply that it actually alters and can mutate our DNA.
Yeah.
And there's the science now that shows that. So we have 99% control over how our DNA expresses. We can no longer say, oh, it runs in the family, it runs in our DNA, because we know now that that's not true. Like, it does run in families, but it can be changed. We have control over that through thought alone. And so in our series, we teach the science behind this. And so together, all of these things make up the most common root causes of why people are sick. And I might add into that some people will say, well, what about leaky gut? You didn't say anything about leaky gut. Leaky gut does too, but it's not a root cause.
No, that's
It's the
right.
toxins and the medications and the infections and the
The
thoughts and the
thoughts.
stressors and the environment that we keep ourselves in that causes the leaky gut, that then causes a cascade domino effect of all of our other cells, tissues, and organ systems in our body that start to not work for us.
Hmm. Wow. I mean, those are, yeah, when I think about it, so we said chemicals, the molds, foods, and thoughts. I mean, that is a
Medication.
lot. And the medications as well. When
Yeah.
you mentioned foods, did you mean foods because foods have chemicals in them or on them, or is it that, I mean, if people are sensitive to foods, it's probably more likely the other stuff, or they've gotten leaky gut. Exactly did you mean by the foods?
Good. Let's break that down. So it can be both. Number one, it can be foods that are not real foods. They're food stuffs. Like,
Food
take
like.
Kraft American cheese or these new impossible burgers. That is so scary. Run from anything that God did not put on this planet, because we are a part of the ecosystem. Think about it. It's easy for us to understand the ecosystem when it comes to plants and animals and our environment. Because if you take, like, for example, when we almost killed off all the wolves in the United States years ago, it completely changed our entire ecosystem and started causing a lot of problems.
Hmm.
Well, we can understand that. It's easy for us to understand that, but we forget that we are a part of the ecosystem as well. And so when we start creating foods that are not real foods, like Kraft American cheese or Impossible Burgers or these processed foods that are all up and down the aisles, 90% of what you find in the grocery store is processed. It's full of chemicals. It's genetically modified. It is not a part of our ecosystem, and our DNA does not know what the heck any of that is. It doesn't understand it. So that's one of the things. But then we also have real food, like whole food, stuff that's unprocessed that we could grow in our yards if we wanted to, that can include anything from vegetables to fruits to nuts to grains like rice, wheat, quinoa, buckwheat, whatever. And diet is very bio-individualized. And, there are so many people out there. There are some people who I know that I'm friends with, who I love dearly, who tell you, who are teaching out there, that everybody needs to be vegan. Everybody needs to be vegan. And then there's others out there that are friends of mine as well. Everybody needs to just do, like vegetable and animal protein. Some of them go to the extreme and go, just animal protein. That's all you need. And they all have, quote unquote, the science behind it. So where do we go with this? Like, it's all conflicting.
That's what gets confusing for people,
That's what
right?
gets confusing to so many people. Well, listen to this, because this will probably resonate with you. We are all bio-individual. We all come from different ancestral backgrounds and different combinations of ancestral backgrounds. And when we take our genetic makeup, our genetic blueprint, and combine it with our current environment, that dictates how we need to be eating and what whole natural foods are going to work better for us than others. And so food is really bio-individual, and we teach people how to understand the bio-individual needs of what's going to be best for them or not. In addition to that, we can test you for these whole foods, and we can see how your body is responding. And we know, and we've known this since the 70s, 60s even. This isn't new. The only difference is now we've got the technology with lab testing and genetic testing to prove it, that there are a handful of foods out there that a certain population of people really just don't do well with. And if they're sick, they really need to stay away from certain foods. And these include these handful of foods that we've known about since the 60s that affect some people more than others, that now can be tested for, include wheat and different components of wheat or other grains very similar to wheat that have a very similar molecular structure to wheat.
Yeah.
Corn.
Yeah.
Eggs, dairy, and sugar. Now, sugar, pretty much everybody really needs to stay away from that. That can be a treat when you're healthy. If you're not healthy, that is so poisonous to you, you need to stay away from it. If you're healthy, just like a glass of alcohol, wine or something, your body can handle it. If you want to have a cookie or whatever, and there's healthier choices, because you can get, these sweets that are less sweet than others. But sugar, out of all of those, I would say sugar is the one that, like, consistently causes issues. But these other ones, in some people, causes more issues than others. And now we can actually test for that. So when it comes to food, there's kind of two categories here. You've got real food, that while some things may be okay for you, they may not be okay for me, right? So we need to understand the bio-individuality of eating healthy, real, whole foods. But then you've got the fake foods, the toxic, chemical, food-like cocktails that are, being put on the store shelves in the grocery stores, that are literally killing people. And so we talk around all of that in our 5-part series.
Wow, I'm so glad we dove a bit deeper into food, because there was a lot to unpack there, Dr. V. Oh my gosh. Okay, this masterclass sounds really interesting. Well, I just love you're so passionate about this, and passionate about teaching people in a way that helps them to understand, helps them understand that they are individuals, and also gives them hope. So I love the combination of what you're doing. So tell me about this masterclass. When is it happening? Is it ongoing all the time, or just for a little while? What's going on with that?
So it's called Beyond the Pill, The Truth Behind Chronic Illness and Disease.
Okay.
And you can start registering for it as soon as Jane gives you the link for it. And we go live on Sunday, June 4th.
Okay.
And yes, we go live with this every night. So I will be on live with my team. And we're just so excited to share this information with you. It's life transforming, not just for you, but for your children and the generations to come, because the changes are happening. The
Yeah.
broken systems are breaking very, very quickly. And this new technology is coming to the forefront of what is going to be called. I don't know if it's going to be called the new model of medicine, the new model of healthcare. I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's happening right now. And we are leading this change. So please come and join us.
Mhm.
We will be live every night for 5 nights, and we'll be staying on with you afterwards for Q&A. And on the nights where we can do it, we're going to do a live interactive experience with you. So please come and join us. We would be honored to have you.
And it's totally free, right?
Totally free. Totally
Amazing.
free. The only way for us to make this change is to make the answers and solutions available for people, right?
Mhm.
People shouldn't. The only people who can get the answers to this, it shouldn't be that you have to pay money just to be able to hear the truth. So we want to give you the truth. We want to teach you what's working for thousands of people around the world. And this is going to be free for you. So just sign up
Mhm.
and come and join us.
And we talked about like weeding through all the stuff that's out there. This one is like giving you the information that you need that's already been proven and tested. So this is one that people should really take in, and I'm excited about it. I'm going to be there. So thank you so much for telling us about it and sharing it with my audience, Dr. V. Now, this show is all about, well, it's called Wellness by Design. It's living intentionally, and also like about taking small steps. I believe that small steps, the things that you do every day, even if they're little things, matter more than what you do once in a while. So what is the one small thing you think someone could do today that's going to begin to initiate healing in their body? Can you pick one?
Believe in your innate ability to heal. Believe in your divine connection to source. And believe that your heart will lead the way, because that is the infinite knowledge that God has given you, is that infinite knowledge. Lead with your heart, and that will never go wrong. It will, your brain, it's a tool, and it's a beautiful tool, but it has such finite knowledge. Lead with your heart and know that you have everything inside of you to heal, and that if you are looking for answers, God is bringing it to you. Pay
Mm.
attention and be conscious of that, and then start taking action towards it. Believe in yourself and love in yourself enough to give yourself the time that you deserve to have the life experience that you want to have.
Oh, love that. Oh, so good. All right, Dr. V, where can people find you? Where's the best place for people to find you online?
You can find us at modernholistichealth.com, modernholistichealth.com. And we have a wonderful YouTube page. So you can find us, go to YouTube, go to Modern Holistic Health, and we have so many educational videos there. Pick a topic that interests you and go check it out and enjoy learning about how you can reclaim your health, your life, and your vitality.
Oh, wonderful. We'll have those links in the show notes too, so people can find it really easily. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. I so appreciate you. My goodness, I appreciate your passion and these things that happen to us in our lives when things go wrong. Sometimes I think they happen for a reason, and I'm almost grateful that this happened to you and also for me, because it turned our lives around and then is helping so many other people. So, we took it for the team. Took it for the team. But I just so grateful for you and the work that you're doing and sharing it with the world. So thank you so much for that, Dr. V.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for everything that you're doing in the world, Jane. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And to everyone watching or listening, share this with someone. If you know someone with a chronic condition, please share this with them. Let them get that knowledge that they need to have so that they can heal themselves. And, I think we'll have a better world when more of us know about this, and we begin shifting the ideas around what it takes to heal and get whole again. So have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you later.